beta and gamma. They go all through the Greek alphabet. When the alphabet is exhausted, then they go back to the zero, the Arabic numbers. I don't know if you caught that or not. So you have, for some of these ancient uncials, you have both an alphabetical designation as well as a numerical designation. And I will show you that too in just a little while when we go through the material that I handed out to you. Okay, these are the uncials. And you might say, how in the world do you date, these ancient writings? Well, first of all, if it's a papyri, you know by the writing material it's old. If it's an uncial, which is, they're typically written on skins of animals, parchment. But you can, but paleographers or people that study ancient languages, they can tell, just like your mother has a different penmanship than you have. Is that not true? Your children form their letters differently than you. And if you had somebody that really understands writing, some of you are teachers, really understands writing, they would say, this comes from between 1930 and 1950. This comes between 50 and 65. Right? You can tell by the way the letters are formed. So people that really study these, because remember, you're dealing with manuscripts, so it's all in handwriting. You'd lose all this if we're in printing press, but in those early days it was all manual. So they can take these ancient manuscripts, not just by the writing material, but by the way they write, the way they form their letters. It's pretty fascinating, isn't it? Pretty fascinating. Okay, so now here we go. The next, these are big words. Second are the minuscules, and the minuscules are the cursive. These are the minuscules, and these are the uncials. And there are, let me see, there are 2,856 of these. All right? And they are identified just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And they come from the 10th to the 15th centuries.
So they're just numbers?
Just numbered, yeah. They're just 1, 2. See, they're different from the uncials because the uncials have, either they're alphabetical until you run out of the alphabet, and they're dual until you run out of the alphabet, and then it's just 0, it's 0, 50 or whatever. There's always a 0 in front, which distinguishes them from the minuscules who do not have the 0 in front of the Arabic number. Okay? So the minuscules are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You notice that these come from much later. Okay, so then there is a fourth category called the lectionaries. Lectionaries. And there are about 2,403 of them. And they come from centuries 2 all the way to century 17. No, I'm sorry, I don't mean that. I mean that. To 7th century. I'm sorry, pardon me. The 7th century. Okay, and these, now, I missed you with the lectionary. I got to stop with that one. Do you use hymns of glorious praise here in the church? Is that a hymn that you might use?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you have in the back, aside from the index, what do you have?
The writers, the dates that the songs were written.
Yeah, but don't you also have biblical readings for us?
Yes.
That's your lectionary. That's your lectionary. And the early church had these lectionaries, these biblical readings for different seasons and so on. All right, just like you have. They're called lectionaries.
What is that again? That's century 2.
Century 2 through 7.
To what?
2 through 7. Okay, so there are total then of 5,664. Now, I'm using Metzger's numbering here. And remember, they keep finding manuscripts. So it could be that now if this were being analyzed more carefully, it would be a few more. I don't know. There are constantly manuscripts that are coming to light, but not so much anymore. That number could change. Okay, so these are the Greek manuscripts. Okay, I appreciate it. You're staying right with me. I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to look at other materials here. We're going to stay with this heading.
Total of 5,000.
Yeah, well, 5,664.
Those are the lectionary.
That
That's the total Greek.
no, lectionaries are 2,403, but I did not identify how you recognize them. These are all numbered 2, and they're numbered with an L for lectionary 1, superscript 1, lectionary 2, lectionary 3. So they're all numbered. So it's absolutely incredible. This voluminous amount of material has been all cataloged for you. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's the work of scholars for centuries.
Excuse me. It's
Yeah.
5,664. What is that total what?
Those are the total Greek manuscripts.
Can you add all the
Total
numbers?
Greek manuscripts.
5 what?
The papyri, pardon?
5,000 what?
5,664. And 5,664. Okay, so you can see how, now, I'm in the process of giving you 24,000 pieces of material, but so far I've given you over 5,000. And this is the main material. I would say this is probably the main material you're going to have to work with. Well, I tell you, you got your work cut out for you. Go through all this material, and no two manuscripts are the same. And you want to get back to what Paul wrote, and you stretch out all this stuff, and you say, man, none of this agrees. What did Paul write? But you compare this with this, and you start putting them in families. Certain manuscripts bear certain commonality, similarities. You put them over here, and pretty soon you're saying, you know what? I think Paul, I think the original must have read like this. You see how that works? If you don't understand what I just said, then you're kind of lost. But I think you can see how that works by comparing, just like with grandma's recipe. The son and the two sisters. By comparing, though none of them had grandma's original, by comparing, they could pretty well identify what grandma's recipe really looked like. All right. So now we go into the first were the Greek manuscripts. Okay. We've already just talked about that. And second would be the versions, or the translations. I've already talked about the translations. And there are about 8,000 to 10,000 in Latin. Okay? And there are about 8,000 in all the other languages that I just listed. Ethiopic, Slavonic, Coptic, so on, right? Okay, all the other languages that I just referred to, Coptic, Arabic, Slavonic, Ethiopic, all the ones that I just gave you. There are 8,000 of those.
So you're saying that each language has 8,000 versions?
No. 8,000 would be the number of manuscripts. Some are Ethiopic, some are Coptic, and if you add them all up, and I don't know the number for each of the languages. I don't know.
The total is 8,000.
Total is 8,000. I can tell you that between 8 and 10,000 in Latin, but all the other languages would be